Welcome into the Alabama Football Report. We are talking Tennessee preview on today's show. And if you hate the Tennessee Volunteers and you want Alabama to win the third Saturday in October, then like today's video right now. The numbers do not lie. The more likes we get, the more likely it is that Alabama takes down Tennessee and gets to smoke some cigars. It is I think the best SEC matchup of the week. That's why it's in that 3:30 p.m. Eastern time slot on CBS. Bama is a 9-point favorite at home against Tennessee. The over-under set at 48.5. You can do the math on what that score projection looks like, somewhere in that 29-20 range in favor of the Crimson Tide. Feels about right to me in terms of the spread. Tennessee is not the dynamic offense with Hendon Hooker and Josh Heupel and all those dynamic playmakers at wide receiver, Tillman, Hyatt, etc. It's not the same team this year. There's still some talent. They have a howitzer at quarterback in terms of his arm strength, but the team has not been as good this year. Already dropped one game to Florida. Before we get into some keys to victory, some more preview stuff here, injury news and notes, some updates that came through from Nick Saban at his late Wednesday meeting with media. Malachi Moore, going to be listed as probable with an ankle injury. It's kind of what we thought was going to happen, me and producer Chris. The vibe was, since he worked out pregame last week, he should be able to go. CJ Dippre is also probably pulled that muscle that, I think it was, had that thigh, that right thigh wrapped last week. Think he's going to be okay to go in this one. Terrence Ferguson is more of a questionable there with an ankle. Given the way they've been utilizing their offensive line, maybe he's dressed and available, but I don't think he'd start for Alabama anyway. And Tresman Marshall with that rib injury that he suffered, some bruised ribs, he'll gut through it. Maybe he'll have the that flak jacket on. You see quarterbacks wear sometimes to help avoid some what would be very painful when he makes contact with players, etc., and takes on blockers. But seems like, all things considered, Alabama is pretty darn healthy. Also worth mentioning, Emmanuel Henderson has been back for this team for several weeks now. He's been getting playing time on special teams. Alabama is on a 5-game winning streak. They took down or lost to Texas and then narrow, ugly win against South Florida, then made the move back to Jalen Milroe. Since then, better results. 24-10 win over Ole Miss, a 40-17 win over the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, a 26-20 win over A&M, and a 24-21, closer than it should have been, win over Arkansas. Nick Saban not happy about that team's week of practice. Perhaps that will motivate them to do better this week. Tennessee, meanwhile, got upset by Florida, a game not many saw coming. That line was really weird. I think Florida was actually favored narrowly. It was a red flag for me. That's why I actually bet on Florida to win that game. Blew out UTSA, blew out South Carolina, coming off the bye, narrowly escaped with a win over Texas A&M. So Tennessee's still a top 25 team. They're a good football team. I do think Alabama is better. Now, at Chat Sports, we have one Tennessee volunteer graduate on staff. His name is Matthew Peterson. We call him Petey. So let's troll Petey, because he's going to be trolling us during our live stream of this game. Spam FPD in the comment section, the pinned comment ideally. Whoever does it the most will get a shout out on our live stream on Saturday. So go spam FPD in the comment section right now. The ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage. Head down there and go vote. All right, key to victory number 1. And this was your big problem last year, right? You could not stop those explosive plays, those plays that go for 20-plus yards. This is a different Tennessee offense in terms of the way they attack. They're going to do a lot of the gimmicky, gadgety, unique stuff that works really well in college football. It's not me being anti-Josh Heupel or whatever, but they have not had nearly the same level of success that they had in the past with the way they've operated. Now, they've only hit 8 passes of 20-plus yards, but they've gone for almost 40 on average. It's been really impressive there. The passes 10 to 20, a little bit more inconsistent there. They've actually done a lot more short stuff. Milton has a cannon for an arm. It's also sometimes, kind of like it's a rocket launcher that does not have the heat-seeking attached. It can go a little bit anywhere. It's going to go a little long sometimes. They'll take shots downfield. They absolutely will. But if you can limit those big plays, I think it will lead to better results for Alabama on defense, and I do not think they're going to have nearly as much success deep downfield as what they did last year. The three names to really watch out for here, Tennessee's leading wide receivers. Squirrel White. It's an elite name. I will not lie to you. 29 catches, 305 yards this year. Brew McCoy, the former USC, Texas, USC again, Tennessee wide receiver, has not actually been as good as I thought he was going to be this year. Ramel Keyton has 3 touchdowns, by the way, and Jacob Warren's kind of just been red zone guy, 8 for 61 and 3 scores this season. The good news is Alabama has some dogs in the secondary. Quillian McKinstry, Terrion Arnold, those guys have been awesome this year. Caleb Downs is a true freshman, has really impressed, I think, pretty much all of us. We've been watching the games so far this year. Can they attack Malachi Moore, who's a bit banged up? I wonder if they'll try to do more underneath stuff and try to get some yak going, yards after catch, against this Bama team. Now, we will be live for Alabama versus Tennessee this Saturday, the first ever live watch party here on the show. So make sure you are subscribed, youtube.com/RollTideTV. Key to victory number 2, you have to maintain your mental intensity. That's going to be a big deal for the Crimson Tide. Being able to be locked in. And they have a tendency at times to kind of relax. They did it against Arkansas, right? The last 2 games have been one-score games, or maybe they shouldn't have been. You should have closed those games out easy. And with the way Tennessee's offense has the ability to make big plays, and as good as their defense is, you can't kind of take your foot off the pedal. It needs to be a bit more of the all-gas, no-brakes mindset, to steal some stuff from Steve Sarkisian. The mental lapses have killed this team in bigger moments, both defensively and offensively. That has to be better moving forward. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, the pros, the sharks, you just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can also combine NFL and college football picks if you want to. There will be some more college football picks coming, by the way. Probably tomorrow is when Prize Picks tends to update those, because you always got to be worried. There are no real injury reports on the college side. My NFL picks of the week. Tyreek Hill gets me 1 touchdown. Michael Pittman less than receiving yards, because I think the Browns are going to shut down the Colts offense. And give me Lamar Jackson more than passing yards against the Detroit Lions. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Key to victory number 3, you have got to protect Jalen Milroe. This is the area of the game that by far gives me the most concern. This is an offensive line, as a reminder, that has been bad this year. And Caden Proctor, the left tackle, is going to be put to the test in maybe a way he hasn't been tested since the Texas game. Maybe that'll be the best, pass rush matchup he's faced. He's allowed 7 sacks this year. And make no mistake, some of those are on the quarterback. But they want to take shots downfield with Milroe. To do that, you have to protect your quarterback. Bama's offensive line is ranked 126th in sacks allowed this season. There are 130 qualifying FBS teams. That's a bottom 5 unit. And guess what? This Tennessee pass rush is absolutely loaded. The 2 names you really have to keep an eye out for. James Pearce Jr., the sophomore, has been a nightmare for opposing teams. He has 32 pressures this season. He's got 7 sacks. He has 9 TFLs. Tyler Baron has been really impressive so far this year as well. 23 pressures, 5 sacks. This is a team that is absolutely going to find ways to get pressure on you. And if you do not protect Jalen Milroe, if it's blindside against Caden Proctor, that is where you run into issues of, guess what happened? We ended up allowing a strip sack there. Roman Harrison, their third passer, has 12 pressures this year. Bryson Eason has 10 pressures so far this campaign. Now, Harrison doesn't have very many sacks this year. He's missed some tackles, frankly. But Tennessee can get pressure on you. They have some dynamic guys. This defensive front is absolutely real. It is one that is going to cause issues, and Milroe will probably have to extend some plays. Ideally, you can operate some good quick game there, and hopefully it doesn't take too much out of your ground game. And I do think if you can run the football early and get some of those edges, maybe to take advantage with some more read options the way you haven't run those as of late, and get some over pursuit from those pass rushers trying to tee off and get some big plays going. Now, Bama has been unable to run the ball consistently so far this year. It's been a problem for them. So figuring out how to have more success, again, I think it's the read option plays. I know Milroe had his hamstring wrapped at one point a couple weeks ago, but I think you have to find a way to have more success with him on the ground. So over or under this week, Alabama gives up 5.5 sacks against Tennessee. Type in O for over or U for under. Number 4 is Jalen Milroe versus Joe Milton. It's a pair of JMs in this week's games. How funny does that all play out? The quarterback comparison, although I think there are some different strengths and weaknesses and play styles involved here, the overall results are kind of hilariously close. Milroe, 64.4%. Milton, 61.5%. Passing yards, they're separated by 130-ish. Rushing yards, there's a difference of like 40. Again, sacks also count, which I hate, but whatever. The total touchdowns in favor of Milroe by 2. Interceptions, a dead heat. That's very similar results out of these two quarterbacks. Now, I think Milton has a stronger arm, but I think Milroe's been more accurate on his deep ball throws. This will come down to who makes less mistakes. Not just interceptions, turnovers, but who doesn't take a bad sack? Who doesn't overshoot an open man on one of their deep balls? These guys have had some mistakes. They've had mental lapses. They've had some issues with inaccuracy. And the big thing that works in your favor, if you are Alabama, Joe Milton is bad under pressure. He's completing under 28% of his passes. That's horrible. I mean, that's where all those happens. If Dallas Turner can get going, it's going to be dangerous, right? In a clean pocket, Joe Milton's been awesome. 69.9%, very nice. 961 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You have to find a way to harass Joe Milton. If you do that, he will make mistakes. A lot of this game is going to come down to, in the end, how you protect your quarterback, how you get after the opposing one. It's prediction time then, for you guys at least. We'll get to producer Chris at the end of today's show. Pick the score for me of Alabama against Tennessee. I assume everyone's picking Alabama, because otherwise, why are you here? We get those score predictions in right now. Key to victory number 5. The penalties. Always an issue for this Crimson Tide team. Certainly was a real problem last year against Tennessee, and it's been a real problem this year. 10 for 90 against Texas. Your best game is 5 for 35 against South Florida. They've had at least 5 penalties every game. Now, 60 yards, 40 yards is better-ish, but it also doesn't include the yardage lost, right? It's a problem. So far this year, Bama has 48 flags for 388 yards. I mean, that's an entire game's worth of yardage, 388. That's a lot of yardage, man. Against Tennessee last year, it was 17 penalties for 130 yards. Can't happen. Have to be better. Not to mention that does include, again, the lost yardage like that, whatever it was, 80-yard return on the pick by Kool-Aid McKinstry that really kind of killed Alabama and helped cost them the game, because it was a one-play game. That was the difference. That's all it was. A lot of plays you can point to as to why you lost. Now, we're going to try to bully Alabama respectfully, but that's for a good reason, into committing fewer flags. So type in flags for me in the comment section right now. As always, before we go, producer Chris's score prediction. Alabama wins 27-17. I like that score prediction a lot. I like Bama to cover. Let's see what happens on Saturday.